Hello, and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, where we look at video game characters and how they would work in Super Smash Bros. And today is our final character of Fighter Pass number 04, the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet theme. And it makes sense that we end off with the most likely character to join the battle, Koraidon, and his Echo Fighter, Miraidon. Koraidon and Miraidon are the legendary Pokemon of the Scarlet and Violet titles, with Koraidon representing Scarlet and the Paradox Pokemon of the past, and Miraidon being the Paradox Pokemon from the future. I mean, it's literally in their names, as Korai and Mirai both mean past and future, the words Dawn being at the end of their name, representing dinosaurs, and of course being a play on words for the word Ride-On, as you literally ride on these legendary Pokemons. As unlike Pokemon generations from the past, you actually get the legendary Pokemon at the beginning of the game, and you take them with you on your journey. Even though that most legendary Pokemon are usually the face of the title, you don't really get to see them until the very end of the game, and their inclusion to the story is a little bit hit or miss. Mostly miss. But the past is in the past, but let's see whether or not they can join Super Smash Bros. In the future. Beginning with the details, Miraidon will be an Echo Fighter of Koraidon. Though you could see Miraidon being an Echo Fighter of Koraidon, I decided to go with this route mostly because it's called Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, not Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. But their movesets would actually be fairly similar with some small noteworthy differences. So throughout most of this moveset, I will be talking exclusively about Koraidon. There will be some noteworthy differences between both Koraidon and Miraidon. Just note when I'm talking about exclusively about Koraidon, this is also a part of Miraidon's moveset as well. Other than that, let's talk about their heights. The heights will vary depending on what attacks you use, as some moves will actually change Koraidon into either his battle mode, which will be slightly taller than Charizard, or his rider mode, which will be a little shorter than Pokemon Trainer, as both his movesets will be actually compiled by both different forms. I should also let you know that Miraidon's height would also still be fairly similar, and even though Miraidon doesn't technically have feet in his battle form, you can still kick the jet thrusters. Moving on to the stats of the characters, starting with Koraidon, Koraidon will be a mid-heavy character with fast speed, below average attack, average defense, above average knockback, and 2 high jumps. However, compared to his Echo, Miraidon, all of his stats in weight, speed, defense, and jumping ability would actually be on equal footing. However, Miraidon will actually have an above average attack power compared to Koraidon's below average, while Miraidon's knockback power is actually below average compared to Koraidon's above average. Both Pokemon are also capable of wall jumping and clinging onto walls. For both Koraidon and Miraidon's special ability, when making this Paldea Fighter Pass, I've been getting a lot of comments about a specific ability I excluded from their movesets, as it is one of the new major gimmicks of the region. But now is the perfect time that I actually talk about this unique ability, mostly because I didn't want to sound like a broken record with the previous fighters, but the ability would fairly be the same all around. And that ability, of course, is Terastallizing, or Terastallization, or just Terastallize, a strange phenomenon in Paldea where Pokemon transform into a specific Terra type that adds a lot more attack power based on the typing it wields. And yes, Koraidon Miraidon will have this ability as well. As you can see on the top right of their character icon, Koraidon and Miraidon will actually have a Terra meter, and depending on how many attacks or how many times they get attacked, that meter will gain energy. Once when the meter is full, it'll actually start glowing. And to activate the Terra typing, you press R and then press the B button, working similarly to how Inkling refills ink in Splatoon. When you activate Terastallizing, it'll do the same animation as in the game, and the transformation itself will actually have a hitbox. When Terastallization activates, Koraidon and Miraidon will get a boost of attack and defense. Some attacks will even give Koraidon and Miraidon super armor. Just note you still take damage, and if you get hit enough times, you'll lose the Terastallization. And unlike other special meters, you can only gain Terastallization again once when you lose a stock, working similarly to how it's used in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. When entering a stage, Koraidon will fly into the arena, similar to how he flies into Paldea in the beginning of the game. For Koraidon's taunts, his first will have him in his battle phase and then do a mighty roar, similar to his in-game animation. For his second taunt, he'll be in ride mode and he'll perk his head up a little bit, thinking that he smells a sandwich nearby. And for his third taunt, he shakes himself, sort of like a dog. Next up is the color palettes. For the first one, it'll be Koraidon and Miraidon's default designs, of course being based off the colors Scarlet and Violet. Palette 2 will actually be inverted designs, with Koraidon getting Miraidon's color palette, and Miraidon getting Koraidon's color palette. Palette 3 will give him the color based off the Pokemon Cyclozar, as Koraidon and Miraidon are considered the paradoxes of this Pokemon. Color Palette 4 will give Koraidon a color palette inspired by Roaring Moon, while Miraidon will get a color palette based off Iron Jugulus. For color palette 5, Koraidon will actually get the color palette of Tyranitar, while Miraidon will get the color palette of Dragapult, as those are the region exclusives in their games. Color palette 6 will be another inverted type color, with Koraidon's color palette being based off the Pokemon Hydreigon, and Miraidon will get a color palette inspired by Salamence. Color palette 7 will actually give Koraidon the color palette of Dodonzo, while Miraidon will get the curly variant of Tatsugiri. And for their 8th color palettes, it'll be their shiny variants, Koraidon's being pure black, and Miraidon getting a steel color. For the victory animations, Koraidon will be just lying down sleeping, while the Pokemon trainer in the background is actually getting a picnic ready. For his second victory animation, he'll turn into his battle form, and then do a pose similar to an image you see in the Pokedex. And for his final victory animation, the trainer is sitting on a rock, and then he throws a sandwich to Koraidon, and you see him scarf it down whole, as Koraidon really loves sandwiches. Moving on to the standard attacks. For his jab, he'll just do a simple headbutt. For the dash, Koraidon will do a massive leap, with the front of his arms doing the damage. Miraidon, however, will hit the brakes, similar to an iconic scene from the anime, Akira. For the side tilt, Koraidon will bite the opponent. For his up tilt, he'll swing his head upward, with the wheel on his chest actually working as a hitbox as well. And for his down tilt, he'll do a claw swipe while ducking. For his side smash, he'll do a one-handed swing, referencing the move Dragon Claw. For his up smash, he'll do a small jump and expand his wings in front of him. Anyone gets caught in the way will be sent upwards, inspired by his ride form. For his down smash, he'll slam both of his hands downwards in front of him. This will, however, leave Koraidon's back exposed. It's also capable of spiking at the edge of a platform. For the standard aerial, the wheel on Koraidon's chest will expand in front of him. However, when Miraidon does his standard aerial, he'll make the wheel on his chest appear and he'll start spinning in a clockwise animation, doing small chip damage at the foe. For the forward aerial, Koraidon will do a single claw swipe. For the back aerial, he'll swing his tail upward. For his up aerial, he'll swing his head in an upward angle, with the headpiece acting as a hitbox. And for his down aerial, he'll jump in a downward angle, and if a foe happens to be right under that attack, Koraidon will do an automatic footstool jump that may lead to spiking. For the grabs, Koraidon will pick up foes two-handed, and his pummel will have him bite the foe. For his forward throw, he'll do a chest bump. For the back throw, it'll be a two-handed toss. For his up throw, it'll be an animation similar to Charizard's seismic toss. And for his down throw, he'll body press on his foes. Next is the special attacks, beginning of course with his standard special. I know some people would want Koraidon Miraidon's signature move to be that standard special, but I went for a different take that makes a little more sense, especially with the ability of Terastallizing. So for Koraidon and Miraidon's standard special, it'll be Terra Blast. When pressing and holding the B button, Koraidon and Miraidon will breathe Terra Shards in front of the foe, working similar to Bowser's standard special. However, when Terastallized into your Terra type, which happens to be Dragon type, the Terra Shards will actually become much bigger and far stronger, even having a purple color referencing Dragon Breath. But if you hold the B button for too long, the breath will actually start to weaken. For the Kirby hats, it makes sense that Kirby would have the headpieces of the legendary Pokemon. However, if you actually manage to consume Koraidon or Miraidon when they Terastallize, Kirby will actually wear the Terra-type crown, allowing him to use the Dragon-type Terra Blast. But just like the Terastallized form, it'll only last momentarily and then disappear. For Koraidon's side special, I decided to use a move that emphasizes its fighting typing. And what better move to have for a fighting type than Close Combat? When you activate this move, Koraidon will go into instant battle form and do a quick dash. If a foe happens to be near, Koraidon will hit the foe with a barrage of attacks, sending them flying. However, while you're dashing, you will be left vulnerable, referencing how when you use Close Combat, it lowers your defense. Just like with Koraidon, Miraidon's side special emphasizes electric typing, and I decided to go with Discharge. Just like with Koraidon, Miraidon will dash forward. If a foe happens to get in the way, they'll be hit by a massive jolt of electricity. When Terastallized, Koraidon Miraidon will obtain super armor during this attack. For Koraidon's up special, it makes the most sense that would be its signature move, Collision Course. By activating your up special, Koraidon will fly upwards in the air. If you press the B button twice, Koraidon will roll into a ball and strike down in a downward angle. If he hits the foe towards the ground, this will have massive knockback ability. Note, if you press the B button once, you won't go into free fall. But if you press the B button again, you will automatically use Collision Course. For Miraidon's up special, it's his legendary signature move, Electro Drift, working exactly like Koraidon's up special. And if they happen to be Terastallized in this form, their up special will hit harder. For their down specials, it was tricky at first, but then I had a really interesting idea. So for Koraidon's down special, I used a move that's as ancient as the Pokemon itself, Ancient Power. When you use this move on the ground, a shockwave of earth energy will expand around him, even causing a few rock spires to appear between him. That'll even protect him from a projectile. However, if you use this move in the air, only the ancient energy will appear. It's a great keep off me tool, so for Miraidon's down special, I decided to go with the move Power Gem, and they work exactly like Koraidon's down B, even to the point where you can't even use them in the air. However, while Terastallized, the rock spires will actually be stronger and have little Terra shards around them, and will have the ability to deflect a projectile, but only once and then the rock will disappear. For Koraidon and Miraidon's final smash, I like to call it Terastallization Meteor. When Koraidon and Miraidon activate their final smash, they'll automatically Terastallize. Anyone who gets hit by the shockwave will be sent into a cinematic. In the cinematic, you see your opponents falling into Area 0. While up in the sky, you see either Koraidon or Miraidon ready to use their signature moves, Collision Course or Electro Drift. While skyrocketing downwards, Koraidon and Miraidon will actually turn into Terra Meteors, and once when they hit the foe, landing at the bottom of Area 0, cause a massive Terra explosion. And depending on whether it's Koraidon or Miraidon, the color will be either scarlet or violet. And with that, we have set for Smash both Koraidon and Miraidon, the faces of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm not gonna lie when I say, even though the game itself is a buggy mess, and Game Freak has yet to solve any of that problem whatsoever, there's no denying that the Pokemon designs in this are fantastic. To the point where it was actually really hard for me to choose one Pokemon for this moveset concept from this region alone. As much as I'd love to see these Pokemon join the battle, and some I haven't even made moveset concepts for, if there's any Pokemon I feel like deserves a spot in Smash Brothers, that definitely represents Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's one of the rare occasions I'll say it's the legendary Pokemon themselves. Thanks for watching, and with that we are done with Fighter Pass 4 of Set for Smash. As per usual, we'll be taking a break to get things ready for Fighter Pass 5, and if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. You can also support the channel by donating to my coffee. And don't forget to check out a lot of my other content here on YouTube, whether it be reviews, a look back on obscure content, or my streams. But until then, tune in to the next moveset concept for Fighter Pass number 5.